Arsène Lupin is on this ship. The gentleman thief of 1,000 disguises has snuck aboard this ship. Blonde, wound on the right forearm, travelling alone. Going by the name of Mr.
It seemed like yesterday that those words were uttered to all the passengers aboard the ship in the middle of the ocean. Arsène Lupin, the gentleman thief who had been all over the news, who had 1,001 disguises, who stirred himself up so much in the way of attention, ever followed by Ganimard, the detective forever chasing him. Part of me wishes I could relive this. Some of the expressions on the other passengers' faces were priceless. Some dreaded the arrival of a thief. Some were angry. Anyhow, let me tell you the tale of Arsène Lupin's arrest. My name is Bernard d'Andrézy, a traveller seeing the world for myself. On this particular journey, I was aboard La Provenance, a ship heading towards America for the wealthiest of the wealthy. A 5-day voyage cut off from the rest of the world, where all the passengers were free to just socialise amongst each other, forge new friendships, and embrace a fleeting time of life without worry. Well, that was until we heard Arsène Lupin was aboard. You could feel the tension in the air, that the announcement meant this journey would turn out to be a memorable one for us.
Relax, Nelly. I highly doubt it'll take long before they find him. Not even a gentleman thief can do anything in the middle of the ocean. Still, the fact that he's on this very ship is infuriating. He could be sitting near us eating dinner. He could be around the corner. It's unbearable being with him for 5 days. I hope he gets arrested. Hey.
Me?
Yes, Mr. d'Andrézy, is it? You're close to the captain, right? Surely you must know something about what's going on with Arsène Lupin.
Not at all. If anything, we should keep our noses out of this. After all, Ganimard is the only person who could possibly catch Lupin, right?
Oh, you don't sound confident. You afraid of him?
Not at all. But, Miss Underdown, do you find this issue of Lupin aboard our ship a complicated one?
Admittedly, I do.
I guess you've forgotten what information we've got to work with, haven't you?
Excuse me?
Remember, Lupin's under the disguise of a Mr.
Bit too vague to do anything with it.
Secondly, he's travelling alone.
Right.
Thirdly, he's blonde.
And
it's a case of going down the passenger list and going through a process of elimination until we find him. I've been snooping around, and I've got a hold of the list.
Oh, I'm with you now. Going through them logically, I see.
Exactly. Going through the 12-person passenger list, we found that 4 people fit the criteria of having an R in their surname while travelling alone. Nelly and I gathered several of the passengers to confirm their identities, with some of the crew overseeing in case of any assistance. Right, we'll keep this short and brief. Feel free to be dismissed once we've cleared your identities. Do we have a Marcus de Raverdan aboard?
He's the secretary to the American ambassador, over there.
How about a Major Rawson?
He's my uncle.
Very good. How about a Mr. Revolta? I'm here.
So far removed from blonde, eh?
3 down, 1 to go. Logically, the final name would have to be Lupin, but before reading the next name, I noticed a man who looked like he fit the criteria dead on, and yet possessed an air of the most perfect innocence. A gut feeling was telling me that we weren't going to find Lupin through this process. And that leaves us with a Mr. Rosaine.
Well, Mr. Rosaine, why don't you answer?
Well, because considering my name, being a lone traveller, and my blonde hair, I must be the culprit. It was strange seeing Mr. Rosaine make these claims. It seemed like he had accepted utter defeat. And yet, his voice sounded almost arrogant, and the gaze he held towards us had an air of confidence.
The real question is, do you have the wound?
Ah yes, there's the one detail I completely glazed over, and the make or break of Mr. Rosaine as a potential culprit. I don't. Have a look. Guess your plan didn't work, Bernard. Too bad. Would like to see Lupin arrested myself. It was true. Rosaine didn't have a wound. My idea for finding Lupin failed, but before I could catch any time to reply to Rosaine's obvious and annoying observation...
Nelly, my jaw's so sticky. Slow down there, Gerland. Catch your breath. What's wrong?
Someone's stolen my jewels!
She wasn't kidding. The jewels were scattered everywhere. Diamonds, sunbursts, jeweled pendants, bracelets, necklaces. It wasn't the largest that Lupin had aimed for, but rather the most valuable. But my attention was caught by the sudden aura of an intense rage.
That man will pay!
Days passed after the assumed Lupin's theft on Gerland. The crew aboard were unable to do anything to locate Lupin throughout the voyage. Rosaine, ever arrogant and becoming increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress over the search for the thief, decided to take matters into his own hands. For the next few days, we saw Rosaine scouting the ship looking for the man in question. His behavior was irritating, to put it lightly. Many of the other passengers complained to the captain, who was left with no choice but to place Rosaine under house arrest. He may not be the suspect, but his adrenaline for answers was becoming increasingly out of control. Honestly, I found it amusing, watching a man who had earlier been so confident and smug about his position of innocence get arrested for something else entirely. As for me and Nelly, we decided to socialize for the remainder of the journey. From having dinner together to becoming her personal photographer, we grew closer over this case of excitement and suspense aboard the ship. Before we knew it, we reached the final day of the voyage.
To think that for the past few days, we've found nothing. We're no closer to Lupin than when we began. He may be a wizard, but he can't make diamonds and pearls just vanish into thin air.
Of course not, but who knows? In a camera like this, anyone could store the jewels. He could pretend to take photos and no one would suspect the game.
Okay, but surely even a smart thief like Lupin must have left some clue behind. Every thief does.
For a normal person, yes, you're right. But as you said, Lupin is among the smartest thieves in the world. He's an exception to that rule.
How do you think he keeps his presence so minimal around us? How can we not have found a trace of him anywhere?
He concentrates his thoughts not only on the theft, but all the circumstances surrounding the theft. That's the only answer I can think of.
I see. Hey, Bernard.
Yes?
I'm curious. What is your opinion on Lupin?
This certainly was a question out of the blue, personally speaking. I wasn't sure. After 1001 disguises, I didn't really have much of an opinion. I'm not sure, Nelly. I honestly don't know. Don't get me wrong, he's no doubt a wise thief, but perhaps he's overrated. He's just another thief in the mix.
I see.
What about you?
I hate him. I hate everything about him. By definition, a gentleman thief is someone who already has wealth, just going after other people who have wealth. For what reason, though? The thrill of the adventure, the attention. He's everything I despise.
Can't say I'm surprised. Your face has been saying that since the moment I met you.
You flatter me. Still, our trip is nearly over. Despite all the problems Lupin's caused, I've enjoyed our brief time together, Bernard.
As have I, Nelly. As have I. At last, the cruise terminal greeted us. A bustling city alive in front of our very eyes after several days of the endless sea. But also greeting us was a small man at the port, a face that I recognised immediately.
Hey Bernard, who's that? Down there on the port. Undoubtedly Ganimard, the world-renowned Lupin expert I mentioned before. Can't say I'm surprised we heard nothing from him during our trip. He's always keeping his business quiet to surprise Lupin. Excellent! You think I'll arrest Lupin this time? Well, who can say? With Lupin involved, expect the unexpected.
A short while later, we were getting off the boat. Nelly's friend Gerland had already gone before us as we began making our way off the boat.
Isn't that a sight to behold, Bernard? Rosane's getting lectured by Ganimard for getting too nosy and looking for Lupin. Honestly, that guy seemed too arrogant for my liking. I still don't trust him.
Quite frankly, serves him right. You should take a photo of this while it's happening. Here, take my camera. I need to look for something.
Where did I put it? Rosane's already moving on. Despite his rather irritating attitude, I guess he definitely isn't Lupin. Where on earth is he?
Either way, let's get moving, shall we? One moment, sir. Why the hurry? I'm escorting my friend here. One moment. Arsène Lupin. Am I right? No, simply Bernard d'Andrezy. Bernard d'Andrezy died in Macedonia 3 years ago. If Bernard d'Andrezy is dead, I should not be here. But as you're mistaken, here are my papers. No need. They are indeed his papers, but I am also aware of how you got them. I can't possibly be Lupin. Remember, he sailed under the name of Mr. Yes, another one of your tricks. A false scent to lure attention away from yourself. You play a good game, my boy, but the game is up. Lupin.
The real question is, do you have the wound?
Who knows? In a camera like this, anyone could store the jewels.
It's unbearable being with him for 5 days. I hope he gets arrested.
Wait! That woman has been travelling with you, right?
What was that camera?
Such a shame it's lost to the pressure of the sea. Where'd that confidence of yours go a few moments ago? Shame she did that, because I'm not saying anything on the matter. Certainly, it was a strange turn of events. Nellie's one chance to take me down was right in her hand. Did she drop the camera out of spite so I could never claim the treasures I worked hard to steal? Or perhaps, having realized that the embodiment of attitude she hated was standing right next to her the entire journey with a welcoming persona, she had a reluctant, newfound respect for capturing her heart and supported me by throwing away the only concrete evidence available to Ganimard. Who knows? I'll leave that to your imagination. It was the end of one fun voyage, but with a title to live up to, prison didn't really suit me. Sadly, I don't have the time to tell it now, but my good friend Maurice Leblanc has written about some of my adventures. You should give them a read. Until then, farewell.